A microsleep is an involuntary lapse of attention that lasts anywhere from a single second to half a minute. It strikes without warning, temporarily severing your connection to the physical world. At 60 miles an hour, a vehicle travels 88 feet every second. A brief 5-second lapse in attention covers nearly the entire length of a football field. During that time, you are effectively a passenger in an unguided 2-ton missile. The biological deception of a microsleep is that your eyes often remain completely open. You appear entirely awake, your hands grip the wheel, and your posture is upright, but the critical decision-making regions of your brain have temporarily gone dark. Your brain can completely power down while you are actively looking at the road. The danger of highway driving is not the physical act of closing your eyes, it is the internal neurological sequence that shuts you off from within. Consider the physical act of driving a modern vehicle. You sit inside a padded, climate-controlled cabin. Your primary physical exertion consists of resting your foot on a pedal and making slight rotational adjustments with your wrists. Yet after a few hours of an activity requiring almost zero physical effort, drivers consistently experience deep, debilitating exhaustion. This extreme lethargy routinely happens to people who are otherwise well-rested. It is a distinct condition, separate from the standard biological sleep debt accumulated after a late night. The environment itself is the culprit. The highly predictable, repetitive structure of the highway is actively suppressing your neurological alertness. Driving fatigue is a direct physiological response to the landscape around you, rather than a simple failure of your own biology. Researchers divide mental fatigue into two specific categories: active and passive. Active fatigue is the product of cognitive overload. Navigating a busy urban intersection with pedestrians, cyclists, and unpredictable traffic causes a measurable spike in your heart rate as your brain scrambles to process the chaos. Passive fatigue operates in reverse. It is the severe cognitive disengagement triggered by low stimulation conditions, such as driving down a long, perfectly predictable stretch of empty asphalt. This chart displays the mDROUT index, tracking EEG alpha brainwaves for mental drowsiness. Notice the clear upward trajectory as a driver moves from low fatigue into elevated passive fatigue during monotonous driving. Their brainwaves synchronize to match a person lying down with eyes closed. When a perfectly predictable environment starves the brain of complex stimulation, it attempts to escape the monotony by initiating its own sleep sequence. This effect is magnified by the physical geometry of the road. Moving at sustained highway speeds across a vast, unbroken horizon forces a physiological change in human vision. Highway engineers call this road focus. To safely process forward movement at 70 miles an hour, the eyes automatically adjust, locking on to a narrow, distant point on the horizon to anticipate what is coming next. Like a flashlight adjusting from a wide flood to a spotlight, the visual field constricts into a tight beam. The brain actively ignores peripheral information on either side. Maintaining this fixed focal distance causes intense eye strain, accelerating cognitive disengagement as the optical muscles tire. By stripping away visual distractions to make a long, straight road as physically safe as possible, we have accidentally constructed a highly effective hypnosis machine. This hypnotic effect reveals a counterintuitive truth about who is actually at risk on the road. A novice driver operates with a high baseline of anxiety. They frantically scan their mirrors, check their speed, and constantly assess nearby vehicles. That nervous visual scanning forces their brain to remain actively engaged with the environment. Experienced drivers, however, automate the physical act of driving. They trust the road, and eye-tracking studies confirm they drastically reduce their active visual scanning. That automated comfort becomes a liability. Experienced drivers are significantly more vulnerable to passive fatigue, particularly during the natural circadian dips that occur in the mid-afternoon or late at night. Scientific trials show that introducing a secondary task, like a continuous verbal conversation, can sometimes save a fatigued driver by forcing a necessary spike in cognitive arousal to combat the monotony. The exact moment you feel completely comfortable, entirely safe, and physically relaxed on a highway is the exact trigger condition for a catastrophic microsleep. Because this biological trap is so difficult to consciously overcome, Civil engineers design physical interventions directly into the landscape. One strategy involves planting staggered tree groves in a bottleneck formation along monotonous tangents. These vertical objects periodically interrupt the empty space. They force the driver's eyes to shift focal distance, breaking the hypnotic road focus and resetting visual alertness. Even the geographic placement of rest stops is calculated mathematically. They are positioned to forcibly interrupt the time-on-task monotony of a route, long before a driver might physically need fuel or food. Our infrastructure must be weaponized to provide artificial stimulation to brains that are being systematically lulled to sleep by the efficiency of the road. The next time you find yourself staring blankly through the windshield, yawning, or feeling that familiar heaviness in your eyes, consider what is actually happening. A yawn or a heavy eyelid is a critical biological alarm. Your brain has already initiated an automated shutdown sequence. The greatest danger on a modern highway is the empty, straight line that convinces your brain it is safe enough to close its eyes.